Hey everyone, today we're going to be reacting to CHUNGHA's Stay Tonight. First of all, I just want to give a huge thank you to all your support and positivity on the Seraphim Crazy reaction video. It really warms my heart to know that y'all care about what I have to think about this. K-pop and Vogue is a topic that I've been interested in for a long time, and I think it's a really interesting kind of case study into the way the larger industry as a whole takes from and honors the art form of Vogue and ballroom. So I am very excited to continue talking about this and reacting to things. For this is a music video that I think I have seen clips of in the past a long time ago, and I've heard the song. And I know that there is some involvement within the Korean Vogue community, I believe, with this music video. So I'm excited to watch it and do a little bit more research and then talk about what I think.
신용적 과다 복용을 일으키
Okay, so right off the bat, I'm already seeing some kind of hands performance moments, and yeah, I think from what I can tell, at least some of these dancers are Voguers. I'm gonna do a little bit more research into it afterwards. I have a hunch that these are dancers partially from the Korean ballroom scene, just from the way that they move, but already I love the formations, the way that the Vogue hands were kind of used to frame around her face. I think something that's really interesting is Vogue hands, especially like very early Vogue hands and arms control, you would see a lot of face framing of your own face, right? Like anything in this kind of world, you know, that iconic clip of, you know, the makeup applying sort of hands performance explanation. But it's really interesting to see that translated to a group setting where you're using it to kind of frame someone else. But yeah, love it so far. We'll keep going. Sorry for the pause. Okay, four. Okay, so just a few little more move point outs. Sorry, I want to see this as badly as you do. So first, this kind of like shoulder shrug, that's a very classic old way movement. You would see it a lot along with some other kind of old way arms happening, or just by itself, but it very much ties into kind of the pop of pop, dip, and spin, as well as just sort of that movement that is hitting the beats on the 1, 2, 3, 4, to really sink yourself into the musicality. So that was really cool to see. Also this movement, not exactly sure what it was, but it was something in that sort of family. That's a very much new way arms control movement that I personally love and use all the time, and executed beautifully. Really love this. It seems like there's like two groups of dancers from what I've seen. One that's more kind of female figures, which I have a hunch maybe a little bit more of like industry dancers, and then the other one is this group of male dancers, which I assume is maybe more heavily representative butch queens within the Korean ballroom scene. Again, we'll do a little bit of research on that later. Let's get back into the video. More arms. Okay. Okay. Still in the hands world. That's a fun picture. Okay. Arms control, flip. There it is again. Beautiful. I'll talk about this little catwalk later. Okay, bridge. Yeah. Okay. I've seen this. I love this. Amazing. Okay, cool. So I have a lot of thoughts. Before I share them, I'm just going to really quickly do a tiny bit of research to sort of confirm some things that I suspect. So I'm not talking out of my ass, but I will be right back with my thoughts about this music video. Okay, so final thoughts. First of all, I would say there is Vogue throughout this entire music video, throughout this entire choreography. For me, it was immediately pretty clear that someone high up in the creative process was either part of ballroom or was really familiar with ballroom. Turns out that the choreographer for this is Kim Ran, who is part of the House of Love in Korea, which I'm familiar with. I think that this was very obviously created by someone who is familiar with the language of Vogue, and it really comes across, and I appreciate that. I think that what happens a lot is that there will be, the idea from wherever higher up to use Vogue, but the only place that Voguers are represented, if at all, is as the actual dancers, but not in the creative process. In this one, it was clear that someone who understands Vogue was choreographing and movement directing and setting the formations and everything, and it really comes across in the strength of the images and the dance that's portrayed. In terms of any gripes I have, this is not even really a gripe, it's something that you see a lot actually, whether it's American music videos or Korean music videos that use Vogue, is that for the little catwalk section, the focus always seems to end up being on like the catwalk arms, like this moment, as opposed to an actual catwalk is really centered in the hip, in that kind of mid-low level. But teaching that to someone who has little or no prior Vogue experience and having it look good is a lot harder than teaching them those Vogue catwalk arms and having that be the focus. But it does sort of lose a little bit of that essence of a Vogue catwalk. But it's very hard to clean a Vogue catwalk on a bunch of dancers and an artist to have it look all the same if you're really focusing on that hip. So I understand why the creative choice was made the way it was, but if I'm super nitpicking, I would love to see more of a traditional, sitting in the level, hips focus catwalk as opposed to kind of the doom that we saw. The hands, incredible. The staging, incredible. I love the way that the dancers were used. From what I could tell, it seems like some, but not all of the dancers in the music video are from the Korean ballroom scene, for both the male dancers and the female dancers, or the male figure dancers and the female figure dancers. I think it was really cool to see both of those sort of sides of it represented. I think my understanding of a lot of the East Asian ballroom scenes, including the Korean ballroom scene, is that there are kind of, I would say, not a 50-50 split necessarily, but there are a lot of butch queens, which is the ballroom term for usually gay or bisexual men, as well as there are a lot of cis women and some trans women and drag queens, but there tend to, and this is just from my observation in the East Asian ballroom scenes and the Korean ballroom scene, be more cis women competing than there would be maybe in the States or maybe even in Paris. But there's a lot of cis women, to be clear, who compete in ballroom around the world. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, but I think when you have a ballroom scene that comes to ballroom first from a dance perspective, sometimes you end up getting demographically more cis women than you would get trans women. And part of that is just because of the demographics of people who are dancers and people who are interested in learning folk dance. So again, not a bad thing or a good thing, but I think it's something that is interesting to see reflected in the dynamics of everyone who is in the music video. Long preamble to say, I love this. I love that people from the ballroom scene were involved in this, both creatively and as dancers. I think that CHUNGHA herself did an incredible job translating the movement to her own body, making it look natural. Other than the few tiny little nitpick things, I think it's an incredible video, incredible choreography. It's a level of Vogue choreography that I do not think we see with a lot of American artists. There are very few examples that I would think rise up to this, and I think this is like a really cool sort of high standard. But yeah, it was incredible. I think it's such an exciting thing for me to see Vogue represented well in a music video setting, because I think there's a lot of examples of it not being represented well. So it is a huge honor to get to see stuff like this, and I'm so glad that a relatively new scene in terms of the overall history of ballroom has already sort of been able to achieve a level of embeddedness within the industry that, you know, parallels or even rivals what we have in the United States. So again, thank you all for suggesting this. For me, something that I was aware of before, but getting to see it in full and really sit down and think about it was really fun. So please leave your comments of anything else that you might want to see me react to, whether it's a K-pop music video or a American or European music video or any other kind of music video that involves voguing or anything else. I'm happy to. I've seen some of your suggestions below and I'll look into them, but I'm always happy to hear more. Other than that, you also can join my channel if you're interested in learning how to Vogue yourself. Every single month I release a full 30 to 40 minute tutorial that has drills and elements and stretches. So if you want to learn Vogue Femme or Vogue Arms or, you know, New Way, a little bit of everything. I usually focus on a different thing every single month. For these upcoming months, I'm going to focus on a different element each month. So you'll really be able to deep dive into kind of how to do each element, how to sort of apply them to your own body, and any kind of variations and levels up to get you there. So yeah, if you're interested in that, please consider joining the channel. If not, I also have a bunch of free tutorials and classes on my YouTube channel as well that you're more than welcome to take a look at. I'm really glad that all of you are enjoying this content, and I hope you stick around for more. And yeah, have a great rest of your Sunday, September 8th, or whatever day that you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.